You know, every now and then I'll run into one of our listeners who will say, you know, Bud man, you've been in the news business, you've been in talk radio, you don't want to talk about anything unless it's bad news. You could not be more wrong. I am more hungry for good news than you can possibly be, because in putting this show together 5 days a week, as much as I love it, I'm drowning in the bad news that's out there. That's why I was just totally pumped for what I thought was the most important topic we talked about on this morning's edition of Bud Hedinger Live on the radio. And that was the stunning news out of the Kennedy Space Center that NASA is getting back in the manned space flight game after being completely out of it since the demise of the shuttle program in 2011. If we get the funding from Congress and the President, and I have to admit that may be a big if, Boeing and SpaceX are going to have multi-billion-dollar contracts to build space taxis that will ferry 4 U.S. astronauts per flight to the International Space Station, with planned short-term, that would be by 2017, to do other low Earth orbit manned projects as well. It was terrific. And for the economy of the Space Coast, which has been absolutely devastated since the shuttle program went out and President Obama did not replace it, this is just an absolute godsend. And I am so happy for all of you out there who have weathered the storm with the big downturn and the thousands of jobs that have been lost. A lot of those jobs, maybe not all of them, but a lot of those jobs are going to come flooding back. And we need to be in the manned space program game for more than just avoiding having to pay the Russians through the nose for a ride up to the space station on their Soyuz vehicle. It's about more than that. Long term, as I continue to say, and most people don't want to hear it, space will be militarized in this half of the 21st century. And we cannot, from a national security standpoint, have a scenario in which we are not the leaders. And you can't be the leaders in space unless you have astronauts in space. And it looks like we're getting back in the game. Good news for sure, and welcome news. And we talked about it on the show this morning. So you see, we're about more than the bad news. We're as hungry for the good news as you can possibly imagine. I hope you'll join us for all the news, good, bad, and otherwise, on the next edition of Bud Hedinger Live right here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. Look for you then.